The Bride of the Cursed Lake. Chapter 12. The Price of Memory. Part 3. My talk with Lilith confirmed what I already suspected about the lake, the curse, the cycles, the ritual. I had all the pieces of the puzzle now. I just needed to put them together. And so I headed into the forest, toward those stone circles Thomas once showed me. That was where I had first felt the curse breathe, and that was where I would reassemble what had been broken. I had to. I was obligated to bring Anna back. Obligated to bring back the life we lost. It felt like my legs carried me on their own, drawn toward the ritual stones. I didn't need a path. I didn't need a direction. My mind was already there. Twilight thickened as I arrived at the first circle of 7 stones. The smaller ring. The central monolith still bore the white swan feather, caught where it had once lodged. Each step jarred my bones. Each breath shook loose the buried echoes of my search for her. For Anna. The trees pressed close, conspiratorial, dense with the ghost of what they had seen. I did not hide. I walked openly, embracing the darkness as it swallowed me whole. I reached the first stone circle, and the air thickened with stories too old for words. 7 ancient monoliths, remembering more than they had the strength to forget. I placed my hand on one. The stone was cold, but my hand did not flinch. I traced its surface, and a shiver traveled up my arm, not from the chill, but from the terrible familiarity, like meeting a stranger who already knows your name, your past, your end. I gripped the stone and felt its weight press back against my skin. I did not pull away. I let the echoes wash over me. I let them in. It was memory, and it was mine. I moved from stone to stone, touching each in turn, daring them to remember, daring them to forget. I had no fear of their stories now. No fear of what they might take. The wind stirred through the circle, brushing the grass like ghostly fingertips. It carried whispers in its wake, women's voices distant and hollow, pleading to be heard. Why us? For what? Why now? And I understood. This circle was tied to the curse upon all the women who had paid the price. But the price of what? The answer was not in these stones. So I moved on. The darkness grew thicker, the path rougher, and still I walked, each step closer to the heart of it all, to the end and the beginning, to the place where her voice broke, where mine did too. I reached the second circle, the larger one. 12 massive stones loomed against the sky, surrounding an altar stained with age, with loss. I placed my hand on it, and this time the memories were not whispers. They were screams, A knife flashed across my vision, cutting across a palm, blood blooming red against white skin. Vows hissed through the air like steam over boiling water. Vows of love, vows of vengeance. I felt the knife in my own hand, felt the sharpness, the betrayal, the promise. I saw the bride on the altar, bound and cold and full of fear. I saw her eyes as she changed, as her breath choked in her throat, as her limbs stretched into other forms. Not myth, not a story. It was a life. It was our lives. I staggered back, and still the vision held. Still it forced its way in. I saw it all. Not a cycle, not a curse, but a wound that refused to close. The generations bleeding into each other. The brides, the lovers, the watchers on the shore, and Lilith's face staring down with unrelenting conviction. The same conviction I had seen so many times, and still I never knew. My head spun with the truth of it, with the weight of it. My knees buckled under its strain. The knife, the stone, the bride. I saw Anna there, but not just Anna. So many and all the same. The altar had cracked, and that crack hadn't been there before. The altar had broken under the weight of our love, under the force of my refusal to let her go. But something else had broken too. The curse ran on blood. This was not a metaphor. It was ancient magic. Dark, pagan, ancestral. I saw her clearly now, as if standing behind a veil of mist. A woman in black robes and eyes that mirrored Lilith's, but younger, a matriarch, a founder, the first raven. She had stood on this very altar long before there was a village, before there was even a chapel. In her hand, the same ritual knife I had once held. Slowly, she had cut her palm, pressing it flat against the stone. Blood dripped onto the monolith, and her voice rose like a curse. Not a prayer, not a plea. A curse born of heartbreak, of jealousy, of love unreturned. She gave up her soul to bind the fate of others, so that every couple who came after would taste the bitterness of her loss, her rage, her betrayal. And I finally saw what had happened by the lake that night. When I had cut my hand and let my blood run, I had unknowingly recreated her act. But I had done it, not in hatred, in love, and that made all the difference. The cycle had fractured, and still it grew. I remembered, and then I understood. The flaw was a thin red line, the line of a knife across skin, a thin red line that could unravel it all. The memory twisted, and I saw it with my own eyes. The solstice, the look she gave me, the blade in her hand. And this time, the blood was not hers. not mine. It was the lake's. It was the curse's. Anna's face swam before me inches away. I reached for it, and the darkness swallowed her again. My breath came in ragged gasps, but I still stretched out. For the memory, for the past, for the moment it all came undone. I pulled my hand from the stone and fell to my knees. This was not the end. Not yet. The night sky loomed above, stars bleeding into each other. The stories would be different this time. They had to be. The first stone had cracked. I had seen the fracture, and I would shatter the rest. I would tear them from the curse one by one. I would not let this new couple sink into sorrow, vanish into silence, be rewritten into ghosts. I would not let them suffer like we did. If the curse could fracture, then it could break. I would follow her into darkness and into light, into cycles and into memory. I would follow until the red line bled dry, until the lake's last breath was my own. I would break it completely.